Hi, and thank you for tuning in to Dani Changg. On today's episode, I actually have one of my girls here, and we're going to be talking about pregnancy decisions. The good, the bad, the, hard to talk about, and everything in between. But first, we'll just start by letting Tabby introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Tabby. I am a makeup artist. I have my own business doing makeup, and I'm expanding now to doing hair, wig installs, coloration.
Very nice. And you guys see the you guys see the work right there. All right, so be sure to follow her on Instagram,
pretty.penny.
Boom. All right. So today we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to have a narrator that is going to be speaking on the men's perspective, because I know sometimes, because we're females, it's going to be a bit one-sided. So we're trying to get some of that testosterone into the combo.
So to kick off, since both of you guys have a different perspective, Dani, you being pregnant right now, and Tabby, you having two babies already, was your pregnancy planned or unplanned, Tabby?
So my pregnancy was unplanned, but I did specify that I wanted more kids. So yeah.
Both
unplanned.
Okay. Mine was also unplanned, but I also made it very clear. Any guy that I dated in the last couple of years knows that was on my radar, so they couldn't act too surprised. Exactly.
So when you found out, what was your initial reaction? How did you feel, Dani?
When I initially found out I was pregnant, I kind of had a bit of disbelief. Also because I'm going to be real, was 35. I was thinking that if I am going to have a child, it's probably going to take me a little bit of time. So for me to actually be like, whoa, I didn't even have to try and I have this baby. Yeah, I was kind of just, stop this. So for those who know Patois, she was basically saying that, everything was still working.
Yeah.
But honestly, it is a real worry, I think, for a lot of women at I know even women that are in their 20s that start to worry about that. So it was kind of a sense of relief, kind of surprised, but overall happy about, the fact that I was going to have a child.
I was in disbelief myself for the simple fact that we weren't trying. We have gone so long without it happening. So when it happened, it was still a shocker. Even when I got the results, I was still shocked.
Are you speaking for your first kid or your second kid?
So I'm speaking for my second kid. For my first kid, I knew what I was doing. We didn't plan it, and I wasn't as shocked as I was for my second kid.
Really?
Yeah.
And you were young for the first one. How old were you?
So I was 19. I was 19.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing on that, for your first kid, did the thought of not keeping the child ever enter your mind since you were so young, never started your career and all that?
No, because growing up in the family that I grew up in, we didn't really believe in aborting a child. The family dynamic, meaning Christian, and my mom had all her kids. She never aborted, and my dad was, involved, and he wasn't for that either. So I already knew right off the bat that if it happened, then that wouldn't be an option for me.
And just to also jump in too, I feel for me, obviously at this point it didn't even enter my mind, because I'm if I don't have it now, I'm not having a picnic because I'm old already, right? But if I was say your age, I think the way I was thinking at that time, and not that my family also was of the belief not to have abortions, but I think because I would have felt I felt like my dad would have killed me. I felt I would have gotten so much trouble. It kind of would have messed up my plan in my head at that time.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of that type that wanted to just do everything in the proper order.
Yeah.
School, find your guy, get married, have a child. So I think I would have been struggling, to be perfectly honest, if that happened to me at that age.
I think that's everyone's perspective of life. You know, wanting to get married, have a kid later, like the perfect family, and unfortunately, that didn't happen for me. Of course, that was my dream as well. We weren't trying, as I said, it was a surprise. Being young, I was always strong-minded, and I always told myself that I wouldn't put myself through that at a young age, because that...
It is traumatic.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it haunts people, and that's something I didn't want to go through. And I was always an honest child growing up, so I just felt like I would have been lying to my parents right off the bat.
Yeah, no, I totally understand your
And I also lived at home, so it was just like I wore my heart on my sleeve, so I couldn't even be myself knowing that I was,
that you did that.
Yeah, that I did that and tell them, yeah. It goes for pregnancy also. When I found out, I was like tiptoeing around them. It just was awkward, so I literally just wrote them a note and put it in the room for both of them to see it, and then that's how I told my parents.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually a good way of telling them. Like it's like, if you weren't comfortable to do it in person.
Yeah, but it wasn't honestly that. It was more like I didn't want one to find out before the other, because we lived in one household, and I didn't want it to be a thing where my mom told my dad or my dad told my mom. So I just pretty much told them both at the same time. Yeah. And being young also, it was hard to have that discussion because we never discussed even contraception. To jump from that discussion to, oh, I'm pregnant, it was like
a lot.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the female has most of the say, or do you think it should be split both ways? Dani, what's your perspective?
In terms of like having
in terms of keeping the child.
I do think that more of the say does end up being with the woman. I'm going to be real and say that. I know a lot of guys don't like that, sorry. But I think that it's your body, right? And also, most of the time, let's be real, it's mostly the woman that ends up having to care for the child. Especially if you're not like together, right? So if I'm gonna have to be caring for it, all these things, I feel like I should have more of a say. And I know our little narrator is giving me side eye, but that's how I feel about that. What do you think?
No, I feel the same way, simply because the woman does end up taking care of the child. Most of the time, it's rare that you find the father having the child. Yeah. But it also depends on that type of woman too, because there's men that end up taking their kids a lot because the mom isn't a fit parent. So that's where the dynamics kind of change, where I see that men would disagree in that circumstance, especially if they're currently in it. So, but I do feel like it's the majority of the decision would be the woman's decision based on the body changes, the risk for the woman,
and also the end result, like that usually happens, where it's you taking care of usually it's the child is living with the woman most often, not every single time. And I know there are some good guys, and honestly, like, I do understand their viewpoint as well, but I can't sit here and lie and say that I think it's 50-50. I don't think so.
So what percentage would you say it's at?
Oh, percentage? A lot? Gee, you make me say an actual number?
30-70.
For the woman.
Yeah, obviously. That's what
70 being the woman and 30 being the male.
So you never think that the downfall goes on the guy, whichever decision he decides? If he decides that he told the woman initially that he's not ready for a kid, he doesn't want a kid at all, and you guys end up getting pregnant, if the guy leaves, is that on him or is that on you, or should you get upset with that?
I still feel like it's on both. It's on both people involved.
If he said he never wanted it, then how did that happen? I just feel like if he said he didn't want it from the beginning, then were they taking the appropriate precautions? Like, were they using protection? Like, there's so many other questions that come into play.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that goes into it, but a common example could be the condom broke, and you guys had a kid, and he told you initially that he didn't want the kid, but you're up to take care of a kid, raise a kid.
I still feel like condoms are not 100%. Everyone's told that in sex ed. If not in sex ed, it's the information's there, Google, whatever, what have you. So I believe that there's always a chance, and that's a chance that you're taking
When you
whether you want to or not when you have sex. So
Okay,
Yeah,
so now vice versa. Let's say the guy wanted the kid, and you're the one who didn't want the kid. What would you do in that situation, Dani?
Okay, so the guy wanted the kid and I didn't want the kid. If I don't want the kid, I'm not having it.
So you're just gonna completely disregard your partner's decisions or his feelings.
Because I think that I'm a very upfront person, where if I didn't want the kid, you probably would know I'm not ready to have a kid. So me even choosing to, not have it, he probably would know that I was going to do that, because I'm very upfront. Like, when I was in school, people know that was my priority at that time. Do you know what I mean?
But speaking on like a general standpoint,
I was gonna ask.
I feel like it's still the woman's decision based on the fact that she has to carry. There's higher risk for her. The man is just an emotional support. If you think about it, yeah, they go through the, what do you call that? The pregnancy weights and whatever. If they're really in it with you, eating, emotional support, whatever. But that's what I think all the male can do, because the child is growing inside of the woman. So
you don't believe the saying, like, it takes two to have a baby?
Of course,
So,
I believe in that saying. It takes two physically to have a baby. Like, the man has to put the baby in the woman for the woman to groom the child inside the womb.
So that as it may, you don't believe that the men, or you should take into consideration the guy's feelings as well?
Of course,
of
course, take into consideration, but ultimately I believe that it's the woman's decision in the end, based on the risk of the woman and the things that women have to go through to carry the child. They have to eat well. They have to watch certain things. They're actually pushing out the child. They're actually, risk of even passing away during childbirth.
Yeah.
So.
And also, to follow up to your previous question too, I think that you said, like, if the man didn't want it, right? I would actually say, like, if I chose to have it, then he can go on his way. I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna force you to be a father if you don't want to. Do you know what I mean? But if I want to have it, I'm still gonna have it. But I'm not gonna, like, go and try to make your life miserable and take you to court and do a bunch of stuff like that. You know? So
yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
So you said you're not gonna force him physically to be around, but what about the financial aspect? Because we know a lot of people get caught up in that after the kid comes about.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he made it clear from jump that he does not want that, and then it happened, and then I wanted to keep it, I'm not going to go after him. But if it wasn't something that he was, like, adamant about, and he seemed like he'd be okay with it before, and then when it happens he starts acting funny, well, then that's a different story.
I personally feel like at the end of the day, if you make a kid with someone, it's 50-50. I believe that it's 50-50. The man should take care of the child, whatever the circumstances are. And that's just how I feel about the situation, because at the end of the day, like, kids have to be taken care of. And why should you have to struggle as a single parent if you don't have to? Like, that person has a job, that person is doing well, and then you're not necessarily on the same level as that person. I feel like the child should have what the father has.
So you don't think it's biased to say that financially it should be 50-50, but when it comes to the actual decision of keeping the baby or not, it doesn't have to be 50-50, it's more 70-30?
No, because like I said, the woman's body is going to change. The woman's going to go through all the risks. The woman is going to go through all the
labor,
emotions, the labor, the care is not 50-50.
So
Regardless if you live in the same household as your husband or whatever, the care is not 50-50.
Yeah, because they have to breastfeed. They have to, like, it's very hard for it to be 50-50.
And the bond is different also. In the beginning, the bond, your child is bonded to
I think you're, okay, go.
the woman. You know what I mean? Because yeah, that's just how I feel about that. The child's bonded
I don't
to
know
the woman
about
first.
I don't know about all that because I could say like some men really do bond with their child as soon as it's born. My dad has expressed that he really bonded with me as soon as I was born, right? So yeah, so I wouldn't say that, but I
guess that's just my
your perspective.
experience.
I do understand.
I guess but you know what I mean? Before they even pass the child to the father, it's the mother's child. You know what I mean? They pass it to the mother
you're
first.
talking about a lot of physical changes. The men could go through a lot of changes, like
Emotionally.
Yeah, emotionally.
Yeah, that's what I
mentally.
mean.
People
Emotion.
go through like depression.
Emotion, but that's it. You know what I mean? That's it. Schedule wise, yeah, their schedule would change, their priorities should change, but it doesn't always happen that way, and that's why I feel the same way.
So, are you saying that their mental health isn't as important as yours?
No, definitely not.
So,
because if you're not mentally stable to take care of a child, then it will affect the child in the long run. So I don't believe that the mental health isn't as important. I just simply believe that, yeah.
Like you mean like
they don't go through the same...
The effects of not having the child on the man, basically, you're saying. Like the possible depression that he could face and things like that.
Do you think that the mental
I think that honestly, both of our mental health is important, right? Like it is. I'm not going to say that their mental health isn't important, but at the same time, I could, like as I said, I could be biased because I'm a female, but I do feel like it is more of the woman's decision because we're having to actually do it. Like unfortunately, and I think I said this previously before the video started, but I said unfortunately, life is not fair, and I know like some people won't like me saying that, but it's true. There are some benefits to being a man. There are some benefits to being a woman. In this scenario, yes, most of the power is in the woman's hands. I will say that. As a man, you don't have as much say. Life's not fair. Like, we have to carry it. I prefer the guy carry the child, but I can't do that, can I? So
how you're saying life is not fair, what if the guy decided to walk out on you and doesn't want to pay any child support, doesn't want to contribute in any way? Because, you know, as you said, life isn't fair. But for majority of the women, I don't think a lot of women are just gonna put up with that and say bye.
But
they're gonna
it depends on the woman that you're dealing with, because there's some women that are very strong-minded and are capable of raising a child themselves financially and emotionally. And there's times where a woman will raise that child based on the circumstances of the man not being mentally stable enough to be a part of that child's life, so it's a protection thing. You know what I mean? So it, like I said, it depends on the person, it depends on the circumstances, it depends on the situation altogether.
So from a guy's perspective, I would say that I do agree that in the end, it is the woman's choice, but I feel like a lot of women nowadays dismiss the guy's feelings towards this. So I believe as opposed to 70-30, it's more so like a 60-40 or 55-45, you know, because as I said, it does take two to create a baby. And this is something you guys should talk about before it even occurs, whether it's planned or unplanned, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be having a kid with someone you're not even with, right?
Yeah.
So
even though, as you said, like life happens.
Life happens and you can't control everything that goes on, but you should make the best of the situation that you're in.
Yeah,
so,
I was just about to say that. Like, regardless of what the circumstances were, whether you're with the person or not with the person, because ideally every woman wants to be with the person, their child's father. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. So it should always be a discussion, and not just one discussion, a continuous discussion on how you guys are going to work together to just make it work on both ends, whether it be schedule, be that emotional support, your beliefs, his beliefs, etc.
And then I think what's important too is just that both people are transparent. Like, I'm very transparent because I want someone to be transparent with me too, right? And then based upon that, based upon what we both know that we want, we need to act in accordance with that. You know, if you don't want a child, we need to act in accordance with that. If you know what I mean, like, so I think that really is the basis of it, right?
So in a situation where you're together with your partner and you know that he wants a kid, like if that were to ever happen, and you don't want a kid, but you guys had a kid unplanned and you want to abort, but he's begging you not to, what would you do in that situation, Dani?
I think it depends on the stage of life I was in. Like, now I wouldn't do that, but like if I was younger and in school, it's a possibility. I don't know because I wasn't in that situation, thank God. But
so
like,
you don't believe like that there's other possible like outcomes you could do, like such as adoption or finishing the
okay, well, it wouldn't be adoption.
not adoption,
I
but like
personally feel
finishing the
like-
pregnancy and allowing him to fully take care of the kid. You don't have to be a part
I
of their
personally
lives.
feel like if, like at my age, being in 30s, if I'm with someone and we don't have the same mindset or beliefs, we shouldn't be together.
And we shouldn't even be
Like,
having sex.
we shouldn't be even doing something that will change our lives that drastically if we're not on the same page. And that's how I feel about that. I wouldn't be with someone if I wanted more children that didn't want more children. I've gone through so much that I know better now what choices I would make from what choices that I wouldn't make. And that's one of the choices I wouldn't make, to even date someone that doesn't have the same views, same values. Like, if we're not on the same page, we shouldn't be even crossing past at all. We shouldn't even get to that point where we're even sleeping together.
A lot of people are very like-minded, but they could have different opinions of something. So what would you tell like the younger version of yourself who is completely in love, head over heels for a guy, but he doesn't want to have a kid and you do?
Same thing, like being grown now and being gone through a lot of experiences, I would tell my younger self to choose wisely, ask the questions that need to be asked, because this is a life-changing decision. And you don't want to be not stuck with someone, but you don't want to be
attached.
Attached to someone that doesn't have the same not mindset, but the same wants as you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I thank you guys both for chiming in and giving your perspectives. I also thank our, mysterious, narrator for giving us the male perspective as well. And thank you so much, Tabby, for being really transparent and talking about your past experiences. And please tell us your past experiences. What were some of the pregnancy decisions that you had to make that might have been hard? Be sure to put it in the comments. Let us know. Do you agree with us that it's more the woman's choice, right? Let us know, as well as the guys. Feel free to put your comment too. I ain't saying I'm going to agree with you, but feel free to put the comment. And thank you again for tuning in to Dani Changg, and thanks for coming.
No problem.
All right, bye guys.
Never thought I could be so unselfish, 'cause I gave you everything. Gave you all that I had, now you want someone else.
Feels like as soon as you walk into the midwifery unit, it feels different. Like, even in the room, and like you can do like a big tub, like you can do a water birth, and